Chapter 1. The Pointing. I'd served champagne to millionaires before. Politicians, CEOs, men who believed their wealth made them untouchable. But I'd never felt the air change the way it did when he walked into the ballroom. The Grand Celestial Hotel had hosted charity galas for years, and I'd worked dozens of them. White-gloved service, silent footsteps, invisible presence that was the job, blend in, smile politely, collect your paycheck and go home. Simple, safe. Until tonight. He entered through the main doors at exactly 9:15, flanked by 4 men in dark suits who moved like shadows. The orchestra didn't stop playing, but I swear the violins faltered. Conversations dropped to whispers. Every head in the room turned, some subtly, others blatantly staring. I was refilling champagne flutes near the dessert table when I first saw him. Tall, well over 6 feet, with jet black hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp jaw, high cheekbones, but it was his eyes that froze me in place. Dark, almost black, and utterly cold. They swept across the ballroom like a predator assessing prey. "Who is that?" I whispered to Marisa, another server stationed beside me. Her face went pale. "That's Dante Moretti. The name meant nothing to me. Should I know him? If you value your life, you should." Her hands trembled as she arranged pastries. "He owns half this city. The other half is too scared to admit he owns them too." Something in her tone made my stomach drop. "What do you mean, owns?" "I mean, don't look at him. Don't speak to him. And for God's sake, don't get in his way." She grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. The Moretti family doesn't play by normal rules. I should have listened. But as I turned to retreat toward the kitchen, my heel caught on the edge of the marble floor. The champagne bottle I'd been holding slipped. I lunged forward, catching it before it shattered, but the movement sent me stumbling directly into the path of Dante Moretti's approach. Time crystallized. I straightened, bottle clutched to my chest, and found myself less than 3 feet from him, close enough to see the faint scar cutting through his left eyebrow, close enough to smell expensive cologne mixed with something darker, gunpowder maybe, or danger itself. His eyes locked onto mine. The ballroom seemed to hold its breath. "I'm sorry," I stammered, stepping back. "I didn't mean to." He raised one hand, silencing me without a word. Then his gaze traveled slowly from my face down to the cheap black dress and sensible shoes that marked me as staff. When his eyes returned to mine, something flickered in their depths. Curiosity? Recognition? I couldn't tell. "What's your name?" His voice was deep, commanding, with a trace of an accent I couldn't place. "Elena." The word came out barely above a whisper. "Elena Russo." Behind him, his men had shifted position, hands moving subtly toward their jackets, protecting him, from me, as if I posed any threat at all. Dante studied me for another endless moment. Then he turned to the elderly man beside him, Senator Blackwood. I recognized him from the event program and said something in Italian. The senator's face went ashen. That's when Dante looked back at me and spoke words that would shatter my entire world. "Stop serving." His tone left no room for argument. "You're not a waitress anymore." My heart hammered against my ribs. What? He lifted one hand and pointed directly at me, his finger steady as a gun barrel. The gesture drew every eye in the ballroom. Silence crashed over the crowd like a wave. "You're my queen now." The champagne bottle slipped from my fingers. This time, it shattered. Chapter 2. Into the darkness. They didn't give me a choice. Before the champagne had finished pooling across the marble, 2 of Dante's men flanked me. Not touching, not threatening, just there, boxing me in with their presence. The taller one, with a scar running down his neck, gestured toward the ballroom side exit. "This way, Miss Russo." "Wait." My voice cracked. "I don't understand. This is a mistake." "I'm nobody. Mr. Moretti doesn't make mistakes." The shorter guard's tone was almost sympathetic. "Please. It'll be easier if you cooperate." Easier. As if there was a hard way they were prepared to handle. I looked around desperately for help. The other servers had vanished into the kitchen. The guests stood frozen, champagne flutes halfway to their lips, watching like this was theater. And Dante, he'd already turned away, dismissing me from his attention as if declaring ownership of a stranger was perfectly normal. "My purse," I said weakly. "My phone. They're in the staff room, already being collected." Scarneck nodded toward the exit again. "Mr. Moretti is waiting." The walk through the hotel's marble corridors felt like a funeral march. My heels clicked against the floor too loud, too final. We passed startled hotel staff who quickly averted their eyes, past security guards who stepped aside without question. Everyone knew who Dante Moretti was. Everyone except me, apparently, until 5 minutes ago. Outside, 3 black SUVs idled at the curb. Tinted windows, no license plates visible from this angle. The kind of vehicles that promised you'd disappear if you got inside. The rear door of the middle SUV opened. Dante sat in the back seat, jacket unbuttoned, one arm draped casually along the window. He didn't look at me as I approached. Instead, he was reading something on his phone, his expression carved from ice. "Get in," Skarnek said. "And if I refuse?" For the first time, the guard's professional mask cracked. He almost looked pitying. "Then we carry you in. Your choice, Miss Russo." Pride warred with survival instinct. Pride lost. I climbed into the SUV. The door closed behind me with a sound like a vault ceiling. The interior smelled of leather and that same dark cologne. Dante still didn't look up from his phone. The guards took the front seats. The engine purred to life. We pulled away from the hotel, and my old life disappeared behind tinted glass. "Where are you taking me?" I forced the words past the tightness in my throat. "Somewhere safe." Dante's voice was casual, distracted. "Safe? You just kidnapped me in front of 200 witnesses. I claimed you." Now he did look at me, and the intensity in those dark eyes stole my breath. "There's a difference. Not from where I'm sitting." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "You're sitting in a bulletproof vehicle surrounded by armed men who would die for me. I'd say that's quite safe, Elena." The way he said my name like he'd known it all his life instead of learning it 5 minutes ago sent chills down my spine. Why me? It was the only question that mattered. "You don't know anything about me. I'm just a server. I have student loans and a studio apartment in Queens. I'm nobody. You were nobody." He tucked his phone into his jacket. "Now you're mine. That makes you the most important person in this city." "That's insane. That's reality." He shifted, angling his body toward me. Even sitting down, he radiated power. "Do you know what happens to women who catch the attention of other families, Elena? Rival organizations? They become targets, tools, leverage." My hands clenched in my lap. "I didn't ask for your attention. No." Something flickered in his expression, almost like regret. "You stumbled into my path by accident. Fate, perhaps. But the result is the same. Every person in that ballroom saw me claim you. The news is already spreading. By midnight, every crime family from here to Chicago will know your name." The car took a sharp turn, pressing me against the door. Outside, the city lights blurred past. "You're talking about organized crime," I whispered. "The Mafia. I'm talking about survival." His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "I've made you a queen, Elena. That comes with protection. It also comes with expectations. I don't want to be anyone's queen. Too late." The finality in those 2 words wrapped around my throat like a noose. We drove in silence after that. 20 minutes through streets I recognized, then another 10 through neighborhoods I didn't. The buildings grew larger, more opulent. Mansions behind iron gates. Security cameras on every corner. Finally, we turned onto a private drive lined with ancient oak trees. At the end stood a house that made the word mansion feel inadequate. 3 stories of stone and glass, lit from within like a palace. Guards patrolled the grounds. Cameras tracked our approach. "Welcome home," Dante said as the SUV stopped at the front entrance. Home. The word tasted like ash. The guards opened our doors. Dante stepped out first, buttoning his jacket with practiced ease. He didn't offer me his hand. Instead, he simply waited, watching to see what I would do. I could run, try to escape into the darkness between the oak trees. I could scream, though who would hear me here? Or I could walk through those massive doors and into whatever nightmare awaited inside. I chose the nightmare, because the truth was settling into my bones like ice. Dante Moretti had made me visible, and in his world, visibility was the most dangerous thing of all. Chapter 3. The Gilded Cage. The interior of Dante's mansion was obscene. Marble everywhere, floors, columns, even the sweeping staircase that dominated the entrance hall. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across oil paintings that probably cost more than my entire education. Armed men stood at strategic points throughout the house, their presence so constant I started to tune it out after the first dozen. This wasn't a home, it was a fortress. Your quarters are on the 3rd floor. Dante walked ahead of me without checking if I followed. His footsteps echoed through halls lined with doors I'd never dare open. East wing. You'll have privacy. There. How generous. Bitterness leaked into my voice. A luxury prison cell. He stopped so abruptly I nearly collided with his back. When he turned, his face was inches from mine, his expression carved from shadow and threat. You think this is prison? His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I could show you what real captivity looks like, Elena. The basements where my enemies beg for death. The rooms where traitors learn the price of disloyalty. Would you prefer those accommodations? I forced myself not to step back, not to show fear. I'd prefer to go home. You are home, he resumed walking. The sooner you accept that, the easier this transition will be. We climbed the staircase each step, feeling like descending deeper into quicksand, and traveled down another corridor. Finally, Dante opened a set of double doors. The room beyond was bigger than my entire apartment. King-sized bed with silk sheets, sitting area with a fireplace, French doors opening onto a balcony, an attached bathroom visible through another doorway, all marble and gold fixtures. Whoever had prepared this room had thought of everything. Fresh flowers on the dresser, a walk-in closet already stocked with clothes, even a bookshelf filled with current bestsellers. The locks work from the inside only, Dante said, leaning against the doorframe. You're not a prisoner, but the security system will alert me if you try to leave the grounds. So I'm a prisoner with nice furniture. You're protected. He pushed off the frame, straightening. Back. There's a difference you'll come to appreciate. Will I? I turned to face him fully. You keep saying that. Protection. But protected from what? I was safe before tonight. I had a life small, maybe insignificant to you, but it was mine. Something shifted in his expression. For just a moment, the cold mask cracked, and I saw something underneath. Was it guilt? Regret? It vanished before I could be sure. You were never safe. His voice gentled, just slightly. You simply didn't know the danger you were in. What's that supposed to mean? But he was already turning away. Someone will bring dinner shortly. I suggest you eat and rest. Tomorrow we discuss the rules. Rules? Panic fluttered in my chest. What rules? Dante paused at the door, his hand on the frame. When he looked back at me, his eyes held something I couldn't decipher. The rules that will keep you alive, Elena. In my world, ignorance is the fastest path to a grave. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. I stood frozen in the center of that palatial room, my cheap work dress, a stark contrast to the silk and luxury surrounding me. Outside the French doors, the night pressed against the glass. I could see lights in the distance, the city continuing without me, oblivious to my disappearance. How long before someone noticed I was gone? My roommate Lisa was visiting her parents this week. My manager at the catering company would assume I'd quit without notice. I had no family, no close friends who'd miss me immediately. Dante had chosen his victim well. No, not victim. That's what he'd said. Queen. I walked to the French doors and tested the handle. Unlocked, as promised. The balcony was small but offered a view of the grounds below. Too high to jump. Even if I could somehow climb down, those guards patrolling the lawn would stop me before I reached the gate. The gilded cage was very real. A soft knock interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Come in, I called, expecting a guard. Instead, a woman in her 50s entered, carrying a covered tray. She had kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. I'm Mrs. Chen, the house manager. Mr. Moretti asked me to bring you dinner. She set the tray on the small table near the fireplace, then turned to me with something like sympathy in her expression. I know this must be frightening, she said gently, but Mr. Moretti, he's not what you think. He kidnapped me. He protected you. Mrs. Chen moved to the dresser, unnecessarily straightening the flower arrangement. I've worked for the Moretti family for 20 years. Dante's father was a monster, truly evil. But Dante, he only appears cold. Inside, he's different. You'll forgive me if I don't find that comforting. She smiled sadly. You will in time. Mr. Moretti has never brought a woman here before. Never claimed anyone publicly. That you're here at all. It means something. It means I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Perhaps. Mrs. Chen moved toward the door. Or perhaps fate has better plans than either of you realize. Try to eat something. You'll need your strength." After she left, I stared at the covered tray for a long time before lifting the silver dome. Grilled salmon, asparagus, wild rice, restaurant quality. My stomach growled despite everything. I ate mechanically, tasting nothing. Then I showered, standing under water hot enough to scald, trying to wash away the feeling of invisible chains. The clothes in the closet fit perfectly. Someone had measured me, probably during that SUV ride. The thought made my skin crawl. I chose simple pajamas and climbed into that massive bed. Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion pulled me under like a riptide. I dreamed of dark eyes and cold voices, of cages made of gold, of pointing fingers that felt like gun barrels. In the dream, I ran through endless marble corridors while Dante's voice echoed around me. "You're mine now. Mine, mine, mine." I woke, gasping. Dawn light filtered through the French doors. The mansion was silent except for distant footsteps, guards changing shifts, probably. My phone sat on the nightstand. They'd brought it up while I slept. When I checked it, my stomach dropped. 47 missed calls, 38 texts, all from unknown numbers, and one message that made my blood run cold. "Welcome to the Moretti family, Elena. Your coronation has begun." Below it, a photo. Me in Dante's SUV last night, visible through the window despite the tint. Someone had been watching, documenting, making me famous in all the worst ways. I was still staring at the screen when another message arrived, this one from Dante. "Breakfast in 30 minutes. Main dining room. Don't be late." Not a request, a command. I looked at the locked door, the stocked closet, the luxury prison that was now my life, and I began to understand. Dante Moretti hadn't just claimed me. He declared war on my behalf. The question was, did he see me as his queen or his weapon? Chapter 4, Breaking Point. The main dining room could have seated 30 people comfortably. Instead, it held only Dante. He sat at the head of a table long enough to land a small plane on, dressed in a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. A laptop sat open beside his coffee cup, and he was reading something that made his jaw tighten. He didn't look up when I entered. "Sit." He gestured to the chair at his right, close enough to talk, too far to feel comfortable. I remained standing. "I want to go home." "No, you don't." Now he did look at me, and those dark eyes held something like amusement. "You want things to go back to the way they were. That's different, and it's impossible." "Why?" I moved closer to the table. "You're obviously powerful enough to do whatever you want, so let me go. Tell everyone it was a mistake. I'll disappear, change my name, move to another city. You'll be dead within a week." The casual certainty in his voice stopped me cold. Dante closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair, studying me like I was a puzzle he was solving. "Sit down, Elena. I'm only going to explain this once." Something in his tone made me obey. I pulled out the chair and sat, my hands clenched in my lap. "Last night, I claimed you in front of the city's elite," he began. "Politicians, business leaders, and more importantly, representatives from 3 rival crime families. The Russos, the Catalanos, and the Volkovs. All of them saw me point to you. All of them heard me call you my queen. So, it was clearly insane. Anyone reasonable would realize, there is no reasonable in my world." His voice hardened. "There is only power and perception. By claiming you, I sent a message. Elena Russo is under my protection. She is valuable to me. Which means..." He paused, letting the words sink in. "She's valuable as leverage against me." Understanding crashed over me like ice water. "They'll come after me to get to you. Now you're learning." He picked up his coffee cup but didn't drink. "The Russos lost territory to me last year. They want it back. The Catalanos blame me for their nephew's arrest. And the Volkovs, they've wanted me dead since I refused to let them traffic drugs through my ports." "Your ports?" The casual admission of criminal empire made my head spin. "I control the waterfront. Shipping, imports, distribution." He said it like discussing the weather. Legitimate and otherwise. "It's made me very wealthy and very hated. Then why drag me into this?" Frustration burst through my fear. "If I'm such a liability, why not just let me go? Announce you made a mistake. I don't make mistakes." The words cut like a blade, and showing weakness would be worse than the initial problem. "If I let you go now, I look indecisive. Soft. And soft men don't survive in my position." I stared at him, anger building in my chest. "So I'm stuck being your human shield because of your pride? You're stuck being my queen because I won't let you die." The intensity in his voice made me flinch. "There's a difference." Before I could respond, the dining room door opened. A man in an expensive suit entered, his expression grave. "Boss, we have a situation." Dante's entire demeanor shifted from almost conversational to utterly predatory in a heartbeat. "What kind of situation?" The Catalanos made contact. "They want a meeting. Tell them no. They insist." The man looked uncomfortable. "They said to tell you they've already met your queen. Last night, before you claimed her." My blood ran cold. Dante's hand clenched around his coffee cup so hard I heard the ceramic crack. "Explain." The man pulled out a tablet and placed it on the table. Security footage played. Me at the gala, hours before Dante arrived, serving drinks to a group of men in dark suits. One of them, older, with silver hair and a cruel smile, had grabbed my wrist when I'd tried to refill his glass. The footage had no sound, but I remembered that moment clearly. He'd whispered something disgusting in my ear, his grip tight enough to bruise. I'd pulled away and reported him to hotel security. They'd done nothing. "That's Marco Catalano," Dante said quietly. Too quietly. "The head of their family. He was drunk," I said quickly. "He grabbed me. I got away. That's all. It was nothing. It was everything." Dante shoved the tablet away. "He touched you. Before I claimed you. But the timeline won't matter to him. He'll use this as leverage. Claim I stole something he saw first. I'm not a thing to be stolen. In this world you are." He stood abruptly, the movement violent enough to knock his chair back. "And now Marco Catalano thinks he has a claim on you, which means this situation just escalated from complicated to deadly." The guard looked between us. "Sir, your orders?" Dante stared at the tablet, at the frozen image of Marco's hand on my wrist. When he finally spoke, his voice was pure ice. "Double the security on the house. No one gets within a mile of Elena without my explicit permission. And send a message to the Catalanos. The girl belongs to me. If Marco or any of his men come near her again, I'll burn their territory to the ground." "Understood." The guard left quickly, as if afraid to linger in the room's sudden cold. I sat frozen, watching Dante. His hands were braced on the table, his shoulders rigid with controlled fury. This was the man Mrs. Chen had called different inside, but right now, he looked every inch the monster his reputation promised. "This is insane," I whispered. "All of this over a waitress. You're not a waitress anymore." He turned to me, and the darkness in his eyes made my breath catch. "You're the woman I chose. That makes you more valuable than weapons, more dangerous than secrets. In my world, Elena, you just became the most important piece on the board. I don't want to be a piece. I don't want any of this. What you want stopped mattering the moment you stumbled into my path." He moved around the table, each step measured and predatory. "Now we're playing a game where the stakes are your life, and I'm the only one who knows the rules." He stopped directly in front of me, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. "So here's what's going to happen," he said softly. "You're going to stay in this house. You're going to follow every order I give without question. And you're going to trust that I will do whatever it takes to keep you breathing. Because if you die, Elena, if any of my enemies manage to hurt you, it'll start a war that burns this entire city. You're insane." "No." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I'm practical. There's a difference." He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers were surprisingly gentle, the touch at odds with the violence humming beneath his skin. "You're mine now," he murmured. "That protection comes with a price. But I promise you this. Elena Russo, no one will touch you again. Not Marco Catalano, not anyone. I'll paint this city red before I let harm reach you." His words should have terrified me. Instead, something warm and dangerous flickered to life in my chest. Because standing there in his dining room, with his hand still hovering near my face, I realized a horrible truth. Dante Moretti was the most dangerous man I'd ever met, and some broken part of me was starting to trust him. Chapter 5. The King's Touch. 3 days passed in a blur of golden captivity. I learned the mansion's rhythms, Mrs. Chen's quiet efficiency, the guard's shift changes, the way Dante disappeared into his study for hours at a time, dealing with whatever darkness ran his empire. I learned which rooms I was allowed to enter, most of them, and which doors stayed locked, the West Wing basement, ominously. I learned to sleep with one eye open, waiting for threats that never came. On the fourth morning, Dante knocked on my bedroom door at dawn. "Get dressed," he called through the wood. "Something appropriate for the cold. We're going out." "Out? Out?" I opened the door, still in my pajamas. "You've kept me locked up for days, and now, you're not locked up. You're protected." His eyes swept over me, and something flickered in their depths before he looked away. 5 minutes, Elena. Don't make me wait." The closet yielded dark jeans, a cashmere sweater, and a leather jacket that fit like it was made for me. Probably was. When I emerged, Dante was leaning against the hallway wall, scrolling through his phone. He wore all black jeans, Henley, leather jacket, and looked like sin personified. "Where are we going?" I asked as we descended the stairs. "Somewhere you need to see." The SUV waited outside, same guards as before, but this time, Dante sat closer, close enough that his thigh pressed against mine, close enough to feel the heat radiating through his clothes. We drove north, out of the city, into areas where buildings gave way to industrial warehouses. The kind of neighborhood where people didn't ask questions, where screams went unnoticed. My stomach tightened. "Relax," Dante said without looking at me. "I'm not taking you somewhere to hurt you." "Then where?" "To show you the truth." We stopped at a warehouse with blacked-out windows and guards at every entrance. Dante led me inside, his hand on the small of my back, possessive, protective, impossible to ignore. The warehouse interior had been converted into something between a bunker and a palace. Security monitors lined one wall, tracking dozens of locations throughout the city. Armed men moved between stations with military precision. This wasn't just an office. This was a war room. "This is the heart of my operation," Dante said, stopping in the center of the space. "Everything I control, everything I've built, it all flows through here. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand what you're worth." He turned to face me fully. "Every screen you see represents territory I fought for. Every guard here would die to protect it. And right now, Elena, you're more valuable than all of it combined. That's insane. That's reality." He gestured to one of the monitors. "This morning, I received intelligence that Marco Catalano has put a bounty on you. $5 million to whoever delivers you to him alive." The floor tilted beneath my feet. $5 million, I repeated numbly. "He wants to prove a point. That he saw you first. That my claim means nothing." Dante's jaw tightened. "He's making you the opening move in a war. Then end it." Desperation cracked my voice. "Give me to him. Collect the bounty yourself." His hand shot out, gripping my chin and forcing me to meet his eyes. "Don't ever say that again." The intensity in his voice, in his touch, stole my breath. "You think I'd hand you over?" His thumb brushed my jawline, the gesture almost tender. "You think I've spent 4 days fortifying my defenses, mobilizing my men, burning resources all to just surrender you to that animal? Then what do you want from me?" The question came out as a whisper. "I want you to stop fighting this." His hand slid from my chin to cut my cheek, his palm warm against my skin. "I want you to understand that you're safer with me than anywhere else in this world, and I want you to trust that I will destroy anyone who tries to take you." We stood frozen in the center of that war room, surrounded by guards and monitors and weapons. But in that moment, it felt like we were completely alone. "Why?" I forced myself to ask. "Why does it matter so much? You don't know me." "I'm nothing to you. You're everything." The words escaped him like a confession he hadn't meant to make. Then his expression hardened, and he stepped back, breaking the connection. "Because I claimed you. That's reason enough." But I heard the lie in his voice. Before I could call him on it, one of the guards approached. "Boss," the perimeter alert just triggered. 3 vehicles approaching from the south access road. Dante's entire demeanor shifted instantly. Identification? Unknown. No plates. Heavily armed. "Elena." Dante grabbed my wrist, his grip iron hard. "Come with me. Now." He pulled me through the warehouse to a back room I hadn't noticed. Inside was a reinforced safe room, steel walls, security monitors, enough supplies to survive a siege. "Stay here," he ordered, pushing me inside. "No matter what you hear, don't come out until I come for you." "Dante, wait." But he was already closing the door. The locks engaged with a final thunk. Through the monitor inside the safe room, I watched chaos unfold. The 3 vehicles crashed through the warehouse's front gate. Men poured out at least a dozen, all armed with automatic weapons. Dante's guards returned fire, but they were outnumbered. And then I saw him. Dante moved through the firefight like a force of nature. No hesitation, no fear. He shot with precision, dropped opponents with brutal efficiency, commanded his men with hand signals that sent them into formation. This was the real Dante Moretti, not the cold businessman or the careful predator. This was the king in his element. The battle lasted 6 minutes. When it ended, 2 of the attacking vehicles were on fire, and the surviving attackers were fleeing. Dante stood in the center of the warehouse, gun still in hand, surrounded by fallen enemies. He looked like a god of war. Then he turned toward the safe room, and his expression transformed. The cold mask dropped, replaced by something raw and urgent. He crossed the warehouse in seconds, unlocking the door. "Are you hurt?" His hands were on me before I could answer, checking for injuries with almost frantic thoroughness. "I'm fine. I was locked in here. Thank God." He pulled me against his chest, and I felt his heart hammering beneath my cheek. Thank God. We stood like that for a long moment, his arms wrapped around me, his breath ragged in my hair. Around us, his men secured the warehouse and tended to the wounded, but Dante didn't move, didn't let go. "That was the Catalanos," he said finally, his voice rough. "Marco's opening salvo. He wanted to test my defenses, see if he could take you. But he failed. This time, Dante pulled back just enough to look down at me. But he'll try again. They all will. Which means I need to make something crystal clear." He cupped my face in both hands, his palms still warm from gripping his weapon. "You're not just under my protection, Elena. You're mine. In every way that matters. And I will burn this entire city before I let anyone take you from me. Dante." He kissed me. Not gentle, not tentative, urgent and claiming and desperate. His mouth moved against mine like he was trying to brand his ownership into my soul. One hand tangled in my hair, the other pressed into the small of my back, pulling me closer. I should have pushed him away. I should have remembered I didn't choose this, didn't want this. But my traitorous body melted against him, and my mouth opened beneath his kiss, and something inside me ignited. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. "That," he said roughly, "was me showing you the truth. Not my empire, not my power. This. Us. You respond to me, Elena. Your body knows what your mind won't. Admit you're already mine." He was right. And that terrified me more than the gunfight, more than the bounty, more than anything else in this nightmare. Because somewhere between the claiming and the captivity, between the danger and his desperate protection, I'd started to fall for the man who'd destroyed my life. And there was no coming back from that. Chapter 6. The Truth in Blood. Dante took me back to the mansion in silence. His hand stayed on my thigh, the entire drive, possessive, grounding, impossible to ignore. The guards in front didn't react, but I felt their awareness. Everyone knew what that kiss had meant. The queen wasn't just claimed anymore. She was willing. Back in my room, I paced like a caged animal. My lips still tingled from Dante's kiss. My body still hummed with adrenaline from the attack. And my mind kept circling one horrible truth. I'd kissed him back. Not just allowed it, participated, wanted it, craved it. What did that make me? A knock interrupted my spiral. But it wasn't Dante's authoritative rap, this was softer, almost hesitant. Mrs. Chen entered carrying a tray of tea. She took one look at my face and set it down carefully. "He kissed you," she said. Not a question. I sank onto the bed. "Does everyone know everything in this house?" "The guards talk. And Mr. Moretti." She smiled gently. "He's never looked at anyone the way he looks at you. He barely knows me." "He knows enough." Mrs. Chen poured tea with practiced efficiency. "May I tell you something? About the Moretti family?" I nodded, grateful for any information that might help me understand this insanity. Dante's father, Giovanni Moretti, was a monster, truly. He built the empire through torture and fear. He had 3 sons, and he pitted them against each other constantly, testing them, breaking them. Her voice softened. Dante was the youngest, also the smartest. He watched his older brothers destroy themselves, trying to please their father. Watched Giovanni murder anyone who showed weakness. What happened to the brothers? Dead, one killed by a rival family, the other executed by Giovanni himself for showing mercy to an enemy. Mrs. Chen handed me the teacup. Dante survived by becoming harder than his father, colder, more ruthless. He took over the family at 25 after Giovanni had a heart attack. You mean after Dante killed him? She didn't confirm or deny. What matters is that Dante rebuilt everything, made the Moretti Empire stronger, but also different. He has rules, lines he won't cross. His father trafficked humans. Dante shut that down immediately. Giovanni dealt in drugs. Dante controls the ports but refuses narcotics. He's not good, Elena. But he's not his father either. Why are you telling me this? Because you need to understand. Mrs. Chen set down the teapot. Dante Moretti has never brought a woman into his home, never claimed anyone publicly, never shown vulnerability. But with you, she paused, he's different, almost human again. Or I'm convenient leverage. If that were true, he'd have chosen someone easier. Someone who wouldn't question him. Mrs. Chen moved toward the door. He chose you, Elena, because something about you broke through that armor, and that terrifies him more than any enemy ever could. After she left, I sat with the tea growing cold in my hands, trying to reconcile the man who'd kissed me in a warehouse with the cold predator who'd claimed me at a gala. My phone buzzed. A message from Dante. My study. Now. We need to talk. The study was on the second floor, behind a door I'd never dared open. Inside, it looked like a library had mated with a fortress floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a massive desk, and security monitors mounted on one wall. Dante stood at the window, back to me, shoulders tense. Close the door, he said without turning. I did, my heart hammering. I shouldn't have kissed you. His voice was rough. It was unprofessional. Took advantage of an emotional situation. I kissed you back. That made him turn. Those dark eyes found mine, and the hunger in them stole my breath. I noticed, he said quietly. So now what? I forced myself to hold his gaze. You've made me your queen, claimed me publicly, kissed me in front of your men. What comes next in your twisted game? It's not a game. He moved away from the window, circling the desk. And what comes next depends on you. Me? I can keep protecting you at a distance, keep you safe in this house, guarded but separate. We maintain the fiction that you're mine without actually... He trailed off, jaw tightening. Or we make it real. Understanding crashed over me. You're asking if I'll stay willingly. I'm asking if you feel what I feel when I touch you. His voice dropped lower. If you want this, want me as much as I want you. Because if you don't, I need to know now. Before this goes further. Before I can't let you go. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something inside me. This is crazy, I whispered. You kidnapped me. You've kept me prisoner for days. I should hate you. But you don't. He moved closer, predatory and cautious at once. Do you, Elena? I should. That's not an answer. He was right in front of me now, close enough to touch, close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. His hand came up slowly, cupping my cheek the way he had in the warehouse. Tell me the truth, he murmured. Do you want me to let you go? The honest answer should have been yes. Should have been God, yes. Release me. Let me run as far as possible from this nightmare. Instead, I heard myself whisper, no. His eyes closed briefly, and when they opened, the intensity there nearly knocked me over. Then say it, he commanded softly. Say you're mine, not because I claimed you, because you choose it. The word stuck in my throat, because saying it out loud made it real, made this insanity my choice instead of his theft. But standing there with his hand on my face, with the memory of his kiss burning through my veins, I realized the truth. I'd already chosen. Somewhere between the terror and the protection, between the danger and his desperate defense of me, I'd stopped being his captive and become something infinitely more dangerous, his willing queen. I'm yours, I whispered. The words had barely left my lips before he kissed me again, harder this time, deeper, with none of the desperation from the warehouse. This was claiming and surrender at once, his mouth moving against mine like he was trying to memorize the taste of my submission. His hands slid down my back, pulling me flush against him. I felt every hard plane of his body, every coiled muscle. This was the man who'd killed to protect me hours ago, the man who'd declared war for me, and I was surrendering to him completely. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine, his hands still locked on my waist. Elena. My name was a prayer and a curse on his lips. You have no idea what you've just done. Probably signed my death warrant. No. His grip tightened. You've just made yourself the most powerful woman in this city. Because now I'll burn the whole world for you. Not out of obligation, but because you're mine. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He cursed and checked it, his expression darkening. What? I asked. Marco Catalano. He's requesting a meeting. Says if I don't agree, he'll start killing my men one by one until I hand you over. Cold fear washed through me. So what do we do? Dante looked at me, and the darkness in his eyes promised violence. We give him a meeting, he said quietly, and I show him exactly what happens to men who threaten what's mine. Chapter 7. The Crown of Blood. The meeting happened on neutral ground, an abandoned factory in Brooklyn, chosen because it was far enough from both territories to be considered safe. Safe being relative when you were walking into a room full of killers. You're staying in the car, Dante said for the third time as we drove through the night. No. I'd said it 3 times too. If this is about me, I should be there. If this is about you, I don't want you anywhere near Marco Catalano. His hand tightened on my thigh, that possessive gesture I'd come to recognize. He's a monster, Elena. What my father was, Marco is worse. And he wants you specifically to hurt me. Then let me help hurt him back. Dante's eyes cut to me, something like pride flickering in their depths. You're not afraid anymore. Oh, I'm terrified. My voice shook despite my best efforts. But I'm tired of being helpless. Tired of hiding while people fight over me like I'm a trophy. If I'm your queen, let me act like one. The SUV stopped. We'd arrived at the factory, a skeletal structure of rusted metal and broken windows. Cars surrounded it on all sides. The Catalano family had brought at least 30 men. Dante had brought 50. If you come inside, he said slowly, you stay behind me at all times. You speak only if I allow it. And if anything goes wrong, you run. Understand? Yes. He studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. Then let's introduce you properly to my world. The factory interior was lit by industrial work lights, casting harsh shadows across the space. In the center, a makeshift conference table had been set up, really just planks across sawhorses, but it served the purpose. Marco Catalano sat on the far side, flanked by his lieutenants. He was older than I'd remembered from the Gala late 50s, with silver hair and a smile that promised pain. When his eyes landed on me, I felt physically ill. Ah, his voice carried across the space. The little waitress. Come to join the grown-ups? Dante's hand touched the small of my back, barely there. But I felt the warning in it. Stay calm. Don't react. You requested this meeting, Marco, Dante said coldly. State your purpose, or we leave. My purpose is simple. Marco leaned back in his chair, casual as a king on his throne. You stole something that was mine. I want her back. She was never yours. I saw her first. Touched her first. Marco's smile widened. That makes her mine by right of claim. Your right to nothing. Dante's voice dropped into a register I'd never heard, pure threat wrapped in silk. You grabbed a waitress at a party. I claimed a queen in front of witnesses. These aren't equivalent. Then let's make them equivalent. Marco gestured to one of his men, who placed a briefcase on the table. $10 million. For the girl. The silence that followed was deafening. You think I'll sell her? Dante's words were barely above a whisper. I think you'll be practical. Marco opened the briefcase, revealing stacks of cash. She's pretty, I'll grant you. But she's a nobody. No connections, no family, no value except what you've assigned her. Why start a war over one disposable woman when you could be 10 million richer? I felt Dante's entire body coil beside me. Every one of his men shifted, hands moving toward weapons. The room balanced on the edge of violence. Let me make something clear, Dante said, each word carved from ice. Elena isn't for sale. She isn't negotiable. She isn't a possession you can purchase. She's my queen, my equal, and the single most important person in my life. So here's my counteroffer, Marco. He stepped forward, and I followed despite every instinct screaming to run. Withdraw your bounty. Apologize for the attack on my warehouse, and acknowledge publicly that Elena Russo belongs to me and no one else. Dante's voice hardened. Do that, and you get to walk out of here alive. Marco's smile never faltered. And if I refuse, then we have a war. One you'll lose, because I have more men, more resources, and more motivation. Dante's hand found mine, threading our fingers together. You threatened the woman I love. That's not something I forgive. The words echoed through the factory. The woman I love. Marco's expression darkened. You're bluffing. The great Dante Moretti doesn't love, doesn't feel. You're your father's son, cold, calculating, heartless. I was. Dante pulled me closer, his arm sliding around my waist. Until Elena stumbled into my life and changed everything. Now I'm something far more dangerous than my father ever was. I'm a man with something to lose. Then let me help you lose it. Marco stood, and 20 guns rose with him, his men pointing at us from every angle. Dante didn't flinch. You pull those triggers, and my men return fire. You'll kill me maybe, but you'll die too, and your entire family will be wiped out by morning. Is that worth it, Marco? Is your pride worth extinction? The standoff held for an eternity. Then Marco laughed sharp and cruel. You've gone soft, Moretti. Love makes you weak. No. Dante's voice was absolutely certain. Love makes me lethal, because now I have something worth killing for. He turned to me then, in front of everyone, and cupped my face in his hands. Do you trust me? I should have said no, should have questioned everything. But looking into his eyes, seeing the raw emotion there, I knew my answer. Yes. Then watch what happens to men who threaten you. Dante turned back to Marco, and his expression transformed into something inhuman. You have 10 seconds to lower your weapons and accept my terms, or I demonstrate exactly what the Moretti family does to those who touch what's ours. You're outnumbered. 8 seconds. You can't. 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Marco's confidence wavered. His men looked to him for orders, fingers tightening on triggers. 2 seconds. Fine, Marco snarled. I withdraw the bounty. The girl is yours. Happy? Almost. Dante's smile was predatory. Now apologize. To her. Marco's face went purple. I don't apologize to your queen. Dante's voice cracked like a whip. Show respect, or I start removing fingers until you do. The threat hung in the air, absolutely sincere. Finally, Marco turned to me, hatred burning in his eyes. I apologize, Your Majesty, for any offense caused. The mocking title should have hurt. Instead, I felt power surge through me, because I stood here in a factory full of killers, claimed by the most dangerous man in the city, and I wasn't afraid anymore. Accepted, I said, my voice steady. Don't make me regret it. Dante's pride radiated through his touch. We left the factory with all 50 of Dante's men surrounding us, a show of force that would be remembered. As we drove away, I watched the Catalano vehicles recede into the darkness. That was stupid, I said finally. Goading him like that. He could have killed us both. He could have tried. Dante pulled me against his side, but he didn't, because he saw the truth that I meant every word. I would burn this entire city for you, Elena, and now everyone knows it. The woman you love? I repeated his words from the factory. Was that part of the act? He looked down at me, and the vulnerability in his expression took my breath away. No act, he said softly. I don't know when it happened. Maybe the moment you stumbled into my path. Maybe when you first defied me. Maybe when you kissed me back. His hand cupped my cheek. But it's real, Elena. Terrifyingly, impossibly real. I should have been skeptical, should have questioned if this was Stockholm Syndrome or manipulation, but my traitorous heart knew the truth. I think I love you too, I whispered. Even though it's insane, even though I barely know you, even though this whole situation is completely... He kissed me, swallowing the rest of my words, and in that kiss, I felt everything he couldn't say. The fear, the desperation, the overwhelming need to protect. This wasn't the cold Mafia king. This was just a man who'd found something precious and would destroy the world to keep it. When we pulled apart, he pressed his forehead to mine. When we get home, he murmured, I'm going to take you to my bedroom. I'm going to show you exactly what it means to be my queen. And tomorrow, we're going to start planning your coronation. Coronation? A public ceremony, making you officially part of the Moretti family. His thumb traced my jawline. Making you my wife. The world tilted. Wife? Did you think I'd keep you as just a girlfriend? A mistress? His smile was pure possession. No, Elena, you're going to be my queen in every way. My partner, my equal, my wife. I should have protested, should have said it was too fast, too insane. Instead, I kissed him again, surrendering completely to the madness. Because in Dante Moretti's world, I'd learned that love and danger were the same thing. And I was drowning in both. Chapter 8. The Coronation. The next 3 weeks blurred together in a haze of preparation and protection. Dante was true to his word about making me his wife. But first, I needed to understand what that truly meant in his world. The coronation isn't just a wedding. Mrs. Chen explained as she helped me into yet another designer dress for another meeting with another family. It's a public declaration of power. Every crime family in the tri-state area will attend. They'll see you crowned as Dante's queen, and they'll understand that harming you means declaring war on the Morettis. So I'm a political statement. You're much more than that. She adjusted the necklace at my throat, diamonds that cost more than my former apartment. You're the first woman Dante has ever claimed. The first he's ever loved. That makes you incredibly powerful, if you're smart enough to use it. I was learning to be smart. Dante taught me himself, in stolen moments between meetings and threats. He showed me how to read people, how to project authority, how to navigate the dangerous politics of organized crime. But at night, behind the locked door of his bedroom, where I now slept, he showed me something else entirely. How to trust, how to surrender, how to love a monster and find the man underneath. Tell me about your family, I whispered one night, tangled in his sheets with his arms wrapped around me. Why? His voice was rough with exhaustion. We'd just survived another attempt on my life, this time a car bomb defused by his security team. They're all dead. Then tell me about who you were before you became this. His arms tightened. For a moment I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, I was 7 when my father first made me watch him kill someone. A man who'd stolen from the family. Giovanni wanted his sons to understand that mercy was weakness. Dante's voice was flat, emotionless. My brothers cried. I didn't. So my father decided I was the strong one, the one worth investing in. That's horrible. That was my life. His hand traced patterns on my bare shoulder. He trained me to be ruthless, cold, perfect, and I became everything he wanted, until I watched him execute my oldest brother for showing compassion to an enemy's daughter. How old were you? 15. Old enough to understand that Giovanni Moretti would eventually kill all his sons if they didn't kill him first. He paused. So when he had his heart attack 10 years later, I made sure the doctors didn't try very hard to save him. I turned in his arms, looking up at his face in the darkness. You're not a monster, Dante. I've killed over 30 people personally, Elena. Ordered the deaths of hundreds more. I'm exactly a monster. Then why are you so gentle with me? I traced the scar through his eyebrow. Why do you hold me like I'm precious instead of a possession? Because you are precious, his voice cracked. You're the only good thing I've ever had. The only person who looks at me and sees something worth saving. And if that makes me a monster who loves, then so be it. I'll be a monster who would burn the world for you. I kissed him then, pouring everything I felt into it. And he surrendered to me the way I'd surrendered to him, completely, desperately, without reservation. We were 2 broken people building something impossible out of blood and secrets, and stolen moments of tenderness. And against all odds, it was working. The coronation took place on a Saturday night in November. The venue was the Grand Celestial Hotel, the same place where Dante had first claimed me. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. He'd taken me from serving champagne to wearing a crown in less than 2 months. The ballroom had been transformed. Thousands of white roses, crystal everywhere. And at the center, on a raised platform, 2 thrones. Because Dante wasn't just crowning me. He was crowning us both as the new king and queen of the city's underworld. You ready? He asked as we stood behind the doors, preparing to enter. I wore white, not a wedding dress exactly, but close enough. Silk and lace, fitted perfectly, with a train that whispered across the marble. Diamonds dripped from my throat and wrists, all gifts from Dante. I looked like a queen from a fairy tale, a very dangerous fairy tale. No, I admitted. But let's do it anyway. He smiled, a rare, genuine expression that transformed his entire face. That's my queen. The doors opened. Every crime family in 3 states had come. Hundreds of people, all dressed in their finest, all watching as Dante led me down the aisle. I recognized faces from the newspapers, politicians, judges, business leaders, all of them on the Moretti payroll, all of them here to witness power changing hands. We reached the platform. Dante turned to face the crowd, his hand never leaving mine. "Thank you for coming." His voice carried across the ballroom. "Tonight, we gather to witness something unprecedented. For the first time in Moretti family history, we crown not just a king but a king and queen together." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Elena Russo came into my life by accident," Dante continued. "She had no family connections, no power, nothing that should have made her matter in this world. But she became the most important person in my life anyway. She challenged me, changed me, made me believe that even someone like me could deserve something good." His eyes found mine, and the emotion there made my breath catch. "So tonight, I claim her not just as my queen, but as my wife, my partner, my equal in all things." He raised our joined hands. "And I promise to her and to all of you that anyone who threatens her threatens me, and anyone who harms her will face the full wrath of the Moretti Empire." A man in ceremonial robes approached some kind of priest who'd agreed to oversee this unholy ceremony. He placed a crown on Dante's head first, heavy gold, embedded with black diamonds. Then he turned to me. "Elena Russo," he intoned, "do you accept this crown? Do you accept the responsibilities and dangers of ruling beside Dante Moretti? Do you swear to uphold the family's honor, protect its interests, and stand as queen to all who fall under its protection?" Every instinct screamed that I should run. Instead, I heard myself say, "I do." The crown settled onto my head, lighter than Dante's, silver and diamonds that caught the chandelier light. The priest stepped back. Then, by the power vested in me, and witnessed by all assembled, "I declare you Dante and Elena Moretti, king and queen of this city. May your reign be long and prosperous." The ballroom erupted in applause. Dante turned to me, and in front of everyone, he kissed me. Not gentle, not chaste, claiming and possessive, and utterly sincere. His hands cupped my face, and I felt his heart hammering beneath my palms pressed to his chest. When he pulled back, he whispered against my lips, "Now you're truly mine, and I'm truly yours." "Until death?" I whispered back. "Beyond death." His smile was fierce. "I'll love you into eternity, Elena. That's my vow." The reception that then followed was surreal. Crime bosses congratulated us. Politicians kissed my hand. Everyone pretended this was normal, that crowning a Mafia queen was just another Saturday night event. But I caught the looks, the calculation in people's eyes as they assessed me. The fear mixed with respect. I'd become powerful overnight, and that power came with a target on my back. Near midnight, Dante pulled me onto the dance floor. The orchestra played something slow and romantic, utterly at odds with the dangerous crowd surrounding us. "Any regrets?" he asked as we swayed together. "About 100. I rested my head against his chest. "But none that involve you." "Good." His arms tightened around me. "Because you're stuck with me now. For better or worse, richer or well, we'll always be rich. But you get the idea." I laughed despite everything. "That's a terrible vow. I'm a terrible romantic." He pulled back to look at me, and the love in his eyes was devastating. "But I'm yours, Elena. Completely. Irrevocably. Forever. Even when forever gets dangerous, especially then." We kissed again, lost in each other while the world watched. And in that moment, I realized something crucial. I'd stopped being a victim. I'd stopped being a captive. I'd become exactly what Dante had declared that first night. A queen. His queen. And God help anyone who tried to take my crown. Chapter 9. The War Comes Home. We had 3 weeks of peace. 3 weeks of playing house in Dante's mansion, of learning to be his partner, of believing we might actually survive this. Then Marco Catalano burned that peace to ash. It happened on a Thursday night. Dante and I were in his study, reviewing security footage from the ports where a shipment had gone missing. Normal criminal empire business, almost boring in its routine. Then every alarm in the mansion screamed to life. "Stay here." Dante was on his feet instantly, gun appearing from somewhere I hadn't seen. Locked the door behind me. An explosion shook the house. Then another. Another. "They're breaching the perimeter," Dante snarled into his phone. "All units converge on the house. Protect the queen at all costs." The study door exploded inward. Men in black tactical gear poured through 6 of them, heavily armed. Dante shot 3 before I could scream. His guards burst in from the hallway, engaging the rest in brutal close-quarters combat. But more kept coming. "Elena, run!" Dante roared as he dropped another attacker. I ran. Through the mansion's corridors, my heels pounding against marble. Behind me, Gunfire echoed like thunder. Men were shouting orders. The house that had been my gilded cage was now a war zone. I reached the main staircase just as the front doors exploded. More men, dozens of them. And at their center, smiling like a demon, was Marco Catalano. "There's my little queen," he called up to me. "Did you miss me?" I turned to run back upstairs and found myself surrounded. Marco's men had come from both directions. I was trapped on the landing, nowhere to go. "Don't hurt her," Dante's voice carried from somewhere behind me. "Marco, this is between us." "Oh, this stopped being between us the moment you stole my property." Marco ascended the stairs slowly, savoring his victory. "Now it's about showing you what happens when you take what's mine." He reached the landing, grabbed my arm in a grip that would leave bruises. "Let's go have a conversation, Your Majesty. One where you'll learn that crown means nothing without the power to keep it." "Touch her again." Dante's voice was utterly cold. "And I'll kill everyone you've ever loved." Marco laughed. "You're surrounded, Moretti. Your men are dead or dying. Your house is burning. And your precious queen is coming with me. So why don't you be a good little king and—" I drove my elbow into his throat. Mrs. Chen had taught me that. During our lessons on deportment, she'd also taught me how to fight dirty, how to survive, how to kill if I had to. Marco choked, his grip loosening. I tore free and ran not away from Dante, but toward him. Toward the man who'd declared war for me, who'd crowned me, who loved me enough to burn cities in my name. "Elena." Dante caught me as I reached him, pulling me behind the shelter of his body. "You should have run." "I'm done running." I grabbed the gun from the fallen guard beside us. "I'm your queen. That means I fight beside you." His eyes widened, then filled with something like fierce pride. "Then let's show them what happens when they threaten the Morettis." We fought back to back as Marco's men closed in. Dante was a force of nature, precise, brutal, devastating, and I was learning. I shot a man trying to flank us, dropped another who aimed at Dante's back, became the queen this world had forged me into, dangerous, deadly, and desperately in love with the monster beside me. But we were outnumbered. "The panic room," Dante gasped between shots. "Third floor. We can hold out there until reinforcements." Another explosion rocked the house. The floor beneath us cracked, gave way. We fell in a tangle of debris and darkness, hitting the ground floor hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. My gun skittered away into the rubble. Above, I heard Marco laughing. "Such a tragic ending," he called down. "The king and queen, dying together in their burning palace. How romantic." Dante tried to rise, but I saw blood spreading across his shirt. He'd been hit during the fall, something sharp buried in his side. "Stay down," I whispered desperately. "Please, Dante." "Never." He struggled to his knees. "Not while you're in danger." Marco's men were descending the damaged stairs. 10 of them, maybe more, all armed, all prepared to finish this. This was how it ended, in blood and fire and sirens, dozens of them, screaming through the night. Then the front doors exploded again, but this time, Dante's men poured through. His backup, his army, 50 men, all, bearing the Moretti family crest, all armed for war. The battle turned instantly. Marco's forces broke, ran, and Marco himself, he backed toward the door, face twisted with rage. "This isn't over, Moretti," he snarled. "You can't protect her forever. Watch me." The shot came from my hand. I'd found my fallen gun in the rubble, aimed it at Marco Catalano, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet took him in the shoulder, spinning him around. Not fatal, but definitive. "That's for touching me," I said, my voice steady despite the shaking in my hands. "For threatening him, for trying to take my crown." Marco stared at me, shock replacing rage. You shot me." "I'm the queen," I said simply. "What did you expect?" Dante's men dragged Marco away. The remaining attackers surrendered or died. And slowly, impossibly, the battle ended. I dropped the gun and turned to Dante. He was still on his knees, bleeding, but alive. When his eyes met mine, they burned with emotion too intense to name. "You shot him," he whispered. "You, Elena, you." I protected my king. I knelt beside him, my hands shaking as I pressed them to his wound. "The way you've protected me, the way we protect each other." You're not a victim anymore." "No." I helped him stand, supporting his weight. "I'm your queen, your partner, your equal, just like you promised." Around us, his men were securing the house. Medics appeared, Dante's personal doctors, prepared for exactly this kind of emergency. They took him from my arms, but he caught my hand. "Don't leave me," he said, and the vulnerability in his voice broke my heart. "Never." I kissed his bloody knuckles. "We're in this together, until death and beyond. Remember? Beyond death," he repeated, then smiled despite the pain. "My fierce queen." They carried him away to tend his wounds, but I felt his presence like a tether keeping me grounded. The house was destroyed, the coronation ruined, the peace shattered, but we were alive. And Marco Catalano would never threaten us again. Chapter 10. The Crown That Burns. 3 months later, I stood on the balcony of our rebuilt mansion, stronger than before, with security that would make Fort Knox jealous, and watched the sun set over the city. Dante and I now ruled together. The attack had changed everything. Marco Catalano survived, but his family didn't. Within a week of the assault, every Catalano operation had been absorbed into Moretti territory. Their allies abandoned them. Their empire crumbled. Dante made sure of it, ruthlessly, completely. But he also made sure I was involved in every decision, every strategy, every move, because I wasn't just his queen anymore. I was his partner in every way that mattered. "You're thinking too loud," Dante's voice came from behind me. I felt his arms wrap around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. His wounds had healed, leaving only scars, outward reminders of how close we'd come to losing everything. Just thinking about how insane our life is, I admitted, leaning into his warmth. "Any regrets?" I turned in his arms to face him. His dark eyes searched mine, always looking for doubt. For the moment I'd realize what I'd become and run, but I'd stopped running months ago. "Only one," I said softly. His expression tightened. "What?" "That I didn't stumble into your path sooner." I cupped his face, feeling the rough stubble beneath my palms. I wasted so many years being nobody, when I could have been here, with you, being this. "Elena," his voice caught. Even now, emotion undid him faster than any enemy could. "I love you, Dante Moretti," I said clearly. "I love this dangerous, impossible, insane life we've built. I love being your queen, your wife, your partner, and I love knowing that we'll face whatever comes next together." He kissed me, then tender and desperate and full of promises we'd both keep. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "I don't deserve." "Probably not," I smiled. "But you're stuck with me anyway, for better or worse. Richer or, we'll always be rich," we said together, laughing. Below us, the city sparkled with lights. Somewhere in those streets, our empire thrived. Our businesses, legitimate and otherwise, flourished. Our enemies cowered or submitted. And at the center of it all, two broken people who'd found something precious in the darkness. Love. Real, messy, dangerous, all-consuming love. "Come to bed," Dante murmured against my ear. "I want to show my queen exactly how much I appreciate her." "Forward of you," I teased. "I'm a Mafia king. Forward is my default." But his smile was soft, just for me. We went inside, leaving the balcony and the city behind. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new enemies, new threats, new battles to fight. But tonight, in the safety of our fortress, wrapped in each other's arms, we were simply Dante and Elena, king and queen, monster and the woman who loved him. Two people who'd stumbled into each other's paths by accident and built an empire out of that collision. "Elena?" Dante said much later, when we lay tangled in silk sheets and moonlight. Thank you." I propped myself up on my elbow to look at him. "For what?" "For stumbling into my life." His hand traced the curve of my waist, possessive and gentle. "For not running when you should have. For becoming my queen. For loving me when I didn't deserve it." "You're welcome." I kissed him softly. "And thank you for claiming me. For protecting me. For teaching me that I'm stronger than I ever knew. For loving me like the world might end tomorrow." "It might," he said seriously. "In our world, it always might. Then I'm glad we'll face it together." He pulled me down for another kiss, deeper this time, and I surrendered to him the way I always did, completely, willingly, joyfully, because this was my choice, my kingdom, my king, and I'd defend it all with everything I had. Outside, the city slept beneath our crown. Inside, we built an empire one fierce, stolen moment at a time. They'd called me a waitress once. Now I was a queen, and I wore my crown like a weapon, sharp, dangerous, and absolutely unbreakable. Just like the man who'd given it to me, just like the love that had forged us both into something new, something powerful, something that would burn eternally, bright and dangerous, lighting the darkness with fire and devotion, and the absolute certainty that we belonged to each other. Forever and beyond.